Welcome to this episode of The Good, the Bad and the Odd with your hosts, Mark and Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hi there.
Okay, so we're back into Hammer territory. And last time it was Vampire Lovers, and now it's Vampire Circus. So Hammer seemed to be on a vampire jag, and the next film's a vampire film too. So, you know.
Yeah.
So Vampire Circus. This was an unusual one because it wasn't the usual cast, wasn't the usual director. The only thing about it that I felt was hammery, really. In fact, it felt hammery, but was the costume design, I'd say.
Yeah. And the amount of topless women. But
this is probably the most topless stuff we've seen so far. There was a lot of Vampire Lovers, but there was even more in this, I think. I could be wrong. So Vampire Circus, directed by Robert Young, who was not a usual Hammer director. Now, it was also produced uncredited by Michael Curtis, who is the usual Hammer producer. Music was by someone called David Whittaker, and there was something else. Oh yeah, one thing about it is, and I didn't know this. This is the first time I heard of this. Apparently, Robert Young wasn't quite up to understanding how Hammer shot, which was cheap, right? You know, fast and quick. You know, and apparently he took 500 feet of film stock just to try and get a shot of a tiger sinking his arm into a fake arm. That's a lot of film stock. And apparently when the film, it was scheduled for 6 weeks, but when it hit 7, basically they shut down the production and gave it to an editor and said, make a film out of this. Which explains more than...
It feels like that.
There are whole sections, and it kind of works because this is like watching a fever dream.
Yeah.
In many respects, certain parts of it. It just cuts between some weird action and then people watching stuff at the circus. Back and forth. And I kind of liked it. I actually thought it was pretty fun. But it felt like Hammer doing Euro trash kind of horror. Rather than yeah, there was definitely a Paul Nashy kind of, Euro horror from the early 70s vibe to it. And the whole circus thing with the dwarf. The dwarf is just odd.
Yeah.
The way it's presented.
Very, very, very strange.
There's some, and in some cases he's kind of a victim, in others he's just like a...
I think the strongman was like a good guy until the very end. He's kind of abused by the... Oh, no, he just crushed the cross that was saving him.
Yeah.
So.
And that's, no one particularly famous. David Prowse is probably the most recognisable.
David Prowse is probably the...
he's a strong one. Adrian Curry was was like the gypsy woman lead. She's kind of known, probably most famous for being the victim of...
Robin Sachs, maybe?
Robin Sachs, I was going to come to him, but Adrian Curry was the wife of the man who is giving the treatment to Alex in Clockwork Orange. And in fact, she's the woman who gets raped by the gang, and then he gets caught and imprisoned. She's famous for that. Which is kind of, Robin Sachs, he's been in a few things, but weirdly, look at his credits, he was the head alien bad guy in Galaxy Quest.
Yeah. I know him as the fairly rough around the edges mercenary from Mass Effect called Zaid. But
he does a lot of voice work for video games and cartoons and stuff. Layla Ward's in it. Layla Ward's famous for being the second version of Romana in Doctor Who. Also, she was married to Tom Baker for some time, as well. They get married. Lynn Fredericks kind of was semi-famous in the 70s, but not very. She was Dora. That was Dora, but otherwise not. Now, I have to say, despite the lack of recognisable cast, despite the lack of recognisable cast, really, I thought the casting was pretty good. Actually, the twins, who played by Robin Sachs and Layla Wall, were creepy and weird. Yeah. And did you notice they kissed each other on the mat? Yeah, they were twins, but they kissed each other.
Yeah, they were fucking weird.
Yes, they were just weird.
Be honest.
But I have to say, the stand-up for me was the guy playing Emil, He was like a rock star kind of guy. He looked like a kind of 70s rock star.
Which one was Emil? The count?
The one with the red, it was the black cat. The one with the red top and the choker. Him. And then there was also the count. What's his name? Hold on.
The count left a bit to be desired.
Yeah, Mitterhaus. He wasn't in it for very long. But... and it was kind of a revenge story, wasn't it? Getting revenge.
Yeah, basically a village caught the vampire and he cursed them, saying that their children's blood will be used to revive him.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happens.
That kind of happens right at the end. But it starts with this woman leading this little girl towards this castle, and it looks very innocent and nice and pleasant. And then the door's shut, and you find out she has brought the child to be drained of blood.
For her child to be killed.
No, it's not her child. It's just a little girl from the village. It's another one. And so, interesting film because it has on-screen deaths of children, which is really weird, right?
An odd one even for Hammer.
And still kind of transgressive even now.
Yeah,
actually.
You just sort of don't do it.
Yeah, but they did a couple of times, right? As well.
I will say this film, as much as I'm going to be frank, didn't really enjoy it that much because it was kind of hard to follow what was actually going on.
Yeah,
they did do a lot of good sort of theatre of the mind, and not showing it is far scarier sort of stuff.
They did, and
with there's a bit where they just sort of offhandedly mentioned there's like loud noises in the background. They're like, oh yeah, some college students have they're taking residence upstairs, and at some point during that scene, the sounds of the college students just stop, and then someone points it out, and then someone runs off to go check, and after a whole action sequence, he comes back and it just goes ripped apart.
They're ripped, but yeah.
And they don't even show anything.
No, they just talk about it.
They show some fairly gruesome stuff, anyway, but they still don't show what happened to the college students, which is ugh.
And it's weird how the villagers turn. And also, it's all about. Well, let's kind of go through some of the plot points. We have this little girl taken to this count by this lady who turns out to be the wife of the schoolmaster. But she's in lust, really, with the head vampire.
She's enraptured by the vampire.
She's enraptured by the vampire and sleeping with him. And the whole town sort of descends on it because their children have been disappearing.
Yeah.
And they say, but the count could get us all hung and all this, but they do it anyway. And basically, he makes it really obvious he's a vampire straight away. So they're okay to, and he's taken them out left, right, and centre. But one manages to stick a stake through the back, so the stake's sticking out of his chest. But he has
that
time.
That was kind of brutal.
Yeah, really strong stuff. And meanwhile, the wife is kind of naked, and they drag her out. Yeah,
they drag her out, but she, if I remember correctly, she just runs back in after they finish her off.
Before all that, they're saying, what should we do with her? And it starts to feel like it might be rapey. There's 20 odd blokes there, but in the end, what they do is they make her run a gauntlet. They're just whipping her with belts and stuff as she's lying on the ground, which is still pretty bad. But the schoolmaster stops it. It's his wife after all.
Yeah.
But then she just runs back in the castle and they say, "Well, what should we do?" And it's like, leave her if she wants to die. But we're destroying this castle, and they kind of burn it to the ground. Meanwhile, she finds the count, who's still alive despite a good.
You'd think being staked would kind of put a stop to that, but no.
And it ain't a little stake; it's about 5 inches diameter. I'd say it's really big. And he says, "Go find my cousin Emil. Tell him." And then he also gets the chance to curse the villagers, saying he's going to revenge himself on their children. Anyway, 15 years later, right? The little village is ravaged by a plague and blockaded on all sides. And not only that, there's armed men surrounding them. So if anyone tries to leave, they get shot. That's how bad the plague is. And it manifests by having these weird black scabs on your face. So it's really obvious. And everyone's kind of a bit ill. The They think it's to do with the Count's curse, but there's a new doctor who says, "Look, vampires don't exist." And
that's
like,
your
you weren't there.
stereotypical skeptical doctor sort of character.
Yeah, but a circus rocks up, somehow gets through the blockade called the Circus of Night.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. Now, I have to tell you, Vampire Circus, apparently it was an idea of a guy, and Hammer paid him £1,000 back in the early 70s, so that's like 12 grand now or something, just for the title. He didn't have to do anything else, just for the title. He got 12, he got £1,000. And then they came up with this story around it. Now, this is kind of interesting because it made me think of Anne Rice, Vampire Chronicles, Interview with the Vampire and was it the Vampire Lestat, all that. Part of that story is there is a troupe of vampires running a theatre in Paris called the Theatre des Vampires, where they're putting on shows every night about vampires, but they're really doing the blood drinking, even though everyone thinks it's a show. And I was wondering if Anne Rice saw this and kind of riffed on it, saw this movie. Anyway, so this a circus rocks up, and one of there's several characters. There's like a head gypsy. There's these acrobats. There's animals. There's a tiger and a black panther.
Specifically refer to her as that in the film. I will clarify.
The gypsy woman. Yes.
Yes.
But she's actually the doctor's wife, but she looks quite different.
She's wearing some sort of like I don't know, like magical sort of masquerade thing.
Yeah, because right near the end, the doctor kind of is it the
sees
doctor?
Through it.
He kind of sees through it, or is he a professor? He's a teacher, isn't he? He's a teacher.
Yeah, he's a school teacher.
He kind of sees through it briefly, but that's right at the end. And she basically, you also find out part of the troupe of these acrobats who are these twins, girl and boy, who are actually her children. Her children from the vampire. So they're vampires too. It's headed by Emil, who's this rock star looking guy with a
who's like the cousin of the vampire. It's like everyone is related to this vampire in the circus troupe, basically.
I have to say one thing about it. There's lots of baring of teeth when stuff happens, and the actual teeth makeup is really good. It does look like their teeth, doesn't it? It really does. Then they start performing and cheering up people. But at one point, it's really weird. At one point,
it's a weird, sedate performance.
Yeah,
I guess they're like villagers in the 19th century, but like, come on.
Yeah, not a long show. But basically, it's things like, for example, we see the Black Panther jump for a ring towards the audience, and it turn into Emil, the guy who then like looks into the eyes of this young girl, who immediately falls for him and wants to get
and throws a complete tantrum about it.
If she don't get to go see the bloke at night in the the weird gypsy bloke. There's also the twins. They kind of turn into a bird and a bat as well, but then turn back again. And the village is like, ooh, and all this. And then there's this dwarf who's like this showman, the ringmaster, kinda, but he talks in rhymes and kind of, but he also says, now come and see the mirror of life. Is it called the Mirror of Life?
Yeah, it's the Mirror of Life, but it's prefaced by 3 regular silly mirrors.
And I'll tell you what, the mayor's pissing himself laughing at these mirrors.
He's never losing his absolute shit at a slightly bent mirror.
Yeah. But then in one of them, the Mirror of Life, he sees the Count, which caused him to collapse and kind of have a heart attack.
He basically has a panic attack and like collapses, and he's kind of out of the movie from here.
Yeah, but there's also
it might have killed him. So.
There's another bit in the middle of the show. These twin boys disappear, and the villagers immediately turn on the troupe. And one is, to be fair, smashing.
It's the most realistic reaction in a village that has had a vampire problem.
Yeah, but what made me laugh, maybe I should have, is one of them was smashing the dwarf's face into the side, really smashing it into his face into the side of the caravan. And then the twins turn up and Emil brings them back and says, oh, look, I found them. And one's like, oh, I wanted to go see the panther cage. It's like, what? Well, that's ridiculous. And then they're all friends again. No, nothing said about the fact they just basically assaulted
brained the
one of the
dwarf.
two. The dwarf's like, and there's one bit which is really weird where the dwarf's got a white face painted on. You know, he's got a makeup, and he peels off the mask.
He peels it off,
and it's got the same thing
Yeah.
underneath. And the town are like, whoa, that's fantastic.
It's one of the show elements. Like it's like he stands in the middle of his ring and then peels off his face, and it's the same face underneath, and then they carry on.
So then
this is kind of where it's really started to it becomes clear that this was just the editor had to scrap together a film.
Yeah.
Because it's just stuff happens.
Yeah, and I think he got the actors to do post-dubbing because you see in scenes them sort of say things that are exposition that don't... Then the next scene is them doing like, I've arranged for us to leave, right? Yeah. You know, and you don't quite see his lips move. And then the next thing is you see the dwarf leading them through the forest saying, this way. And then the big cats or vampires attack them in the forest. Yeah. Right? So that gets that done. What else happens? There's all sorts of weird stuff involving the mirrors.
They do some they continue to do a lot of like mirror stuff. So they're like the two boys that previously got in a bit of an issue. They Emil and the lady like lure them through the mirror of life.
No, it's the twins, isn't it? It's the twins. It's the what? Yeah. It was Heinrich and Helga, and they said, "Do you want to see us how we do it?" And at one point, the boys say, "They haven't got a reflection indicator."
Yeah,
and they lead them through the mirror, and the next thing is they've been chomped, and you see them lying dead. And it's weird because at one point they're sort of saying they're looking for the boys, and this guy smiles as he says, "I found them," which is weird because they're dead. He finds them dead, but he smiles as he said, "I found them," like it's good news. But he's a villager, so I don't quite get it.
It's a very odd film.
I have to say, whenever people seem to get the bite, they kind of drip the blood over Mitterhaus, don't they? And it seeps into his chest almost. That's kind of how it works. Meanwhile the doctor's doubting all this because vampires don't exist and everything. Then the schoolmaster runs the blockade with his son and manages to escape. But that doesn't really precipitate into anything, does
nothing. It? The schoolmaster doesn't really show up.
No,
nothing much happens for the rest of the movie.
I was confused because I thought the boy was his son and the girl was his daughter, but they seem to be a couple. So maybe I didn't. So the boy wasn't his son; it was just
the girl was definitely his daughter.
Yeah.
But I guess the boy turned out to be like her like a boyfriend from like wherever she was. Like I assume like some sort of education.
Yeah,
because I cannot like. I do not know how old anyone is supposed to be in this movie.
Yeah,
everyone's played by like 20, 30 somethings.
Yeah, it's very weird. There's one point there's storming at the circus. They decide they're going to kill all the animals, and it all kicks off. There's a bloke holding a torch, and a burning torch, and he looks in the mirror and he sees himself burning, and then he's on fire, and then it's like what? I have to say, I still find it fun. I make it sound like I thought it was terrible. I don't. I just thought it was weird. And it didn't hang together, but I kind of liked... The imagery kind of worked for me in terms of dream logic, actually. I thought it was all right. But you weren't so much of a fan.
I wasn't so much of a fan of the imagery. A lot of the unsaid stuff was actually I quite liked.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I also liked there were some quite interesting innovations in killing vampires in this, right near the end especially.
Yeah, I think my favourite was the giant cross that they pushed off the roof of a church that speared one of the twins, and because they have this weird like shared pain thing.
Yeah,
it staked the other one as well, so a giant hole appeared in his chest.
Yeah, and at one point also, the female twin is talking to the kids. She says the animals won't hurt you, and she sticks her arm in the tiger's cage, and he mauls her arm.
Yeah.
And then the other twin's going, what's going, with his arm.
Yeah.
And then when she pulls her arm out, it's all right. And she said, look, he hasn't hurt me and all this. There's weird stuff like that happening. The cross falling off the roof just accidentally, but travelling sideways instead of downwards.
Yeah.
Spearing, that was ridiculous. Also, I like the fact they use a crossbow as a cross, as a makeshift cross. They also use a knife as a makeshift cross. And I really liked they dispatched one of the vampires by putting the crossbow over his head and firing the bolt and the string cutting his head off. That was kind of cool, right?
That was
it's a weird film. In fact, it feels like one of them might survive. Oh, the strongman dies as well.
Yeah, the strongman dies, yeah. But,
do they stake him? I can't remember now. I can't remember what
I can't remember either. I know someone gets away, and it's not quite clear.
Yeah, and it's a bat,
basically, they chuck everyone's bodies onto a giant pyre, and they're like, okay, it's done. And then a bat flies away. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, and they see it fly off. Yeah, so that was it. Quite short and sweet, really. Nice and short, as is the one to Hammer.
Yeah.
But, yeah, odd. Odd, right? Odd
yeah,
film.
Very strange.
It's not quite good enough to be in our good, bad, and odd. But it is kind of... There's good stuff, and there's bad stuff, and there's odd stuff in it.
Oh.
But they don't quite blend. It's not good enough, I don't think, to go into it.
Yeah.
There was also the whole act of the weird naked tiger woman dancing.
Yeah, that was really... uncomfortably horny, that scene.
Yeah, man. Oh, man. It kind of... and she was bald. And she was...
It's like, okay, so she's wearing a full-body skin tight. Nope, that's body paint.
No, she's completely naked
bald.
in this.
Okay.
Yeah. And she's painted, weirdly, not like a tiger in that she's not
No,
orange
she's got
and black.
like
She's green and black.
Yeah,
it's green. So, interesting one, really. Robin Sachs did also appear in Buffy as well, and I believe he was like one of the mentors. I think that was him.
Okay. Slayer Superior sort of thing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So interesting film, and they put out I think either 4 or 6 films in 1971, which is really high production, output. And Vampire Lovers, Vampire Circus, and we got Countess Dracula next as well. So again, vampires, they like their vampires, it appears. I've also read a comic strip version of this from the House of Hammer, which was okay. It was okay. You get a feel for the film. They do, it looks like shots from the film. The panes look like shots from the film, and there's some quite interesting shots, especially the Count and Emil, really, doing their hissy thing with their teeth. And in fact, the main poster is Emil with his mouth open, going, Yeah,
it's him sort of hissing at the screen. So.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed this.
Except it kind of looks like a rendition of The Scream. So
kinda, yeah.
Like he looks startled, not attacking someone.
Yeah. Interestingly, I mentioned Adrian Curry was in Clockwork Orange. David Prowse was also in Clockwork Orange as like this, a bodybuilder. Stroke bodyguard, stroke carer.
I can get that he was a bodybuilder, but he really got typecast hard.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't the greatest actor, so
Yeah.
He wasn't a trained actor really. So fair enough. Now this did actually double bill in America when it came out with Countess Dracula. That was a double bill. Doing around, so that's good because I guess they were made around the same time. But a lot of the critics prefer Countess Dracula to.
Okay.
But I actually, I was pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed it actually, and I think I enjoyed it more than you from the sound of it.
Yeah.
All right, got any final thoughts, and we'll rate it.
Not really. I think I've said everything.
Okay. Well, like I say, I thought the weird lack of story kind of helped it. It felt like a fever dream, a bonkers fever dream to me. What would you give it on your rating system?
Yeah, I'd probably put it in the sort of minus side.
Yeah.
So put it probably like -5, 6 sort of thing.
Oh, right. Okay. I give it a 7. Straight
Okay.
7. I really liked it. I mean, it's close to an 8. If it made a little more sense, I just felt some of the imagery and some of the whole way it was set up was actually quite cool, but it just didn't work as a coherent film, but it worked as an incoherent film, if that makes sense to me. Yeah. All right, then let's wind up there. So this, I think, is our 34th Hammer movie. So, and we've probably got another 10. So we're getting near the back end now. But I always felt that Hammer's more interesting stuff was late, because they were just trying to stay afloat in a market where things like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Exorcist was around, you know, and faded pretty much, but trying their best. So yeah. All right, then let's wind it up there. So bye from me.
Bye.
First time in my life, I keep the lights on to ease my soul.